Okay. I know what you're saying. You're saying, yo, DM, you have a messy background, but on top of it, you're saying, okay, Karam is now the best epic in the game. You're crazy. Well, let me walk you through a little bit of my thought process on why Karam's value, at a minimum, has at least skyrocketed. And maybe you can guess this already if you've been seeing some news go around, but let me walk you through it in today's special investigative brilliant 900 IQ report of Karam, the best epic ever. So let's go.
Well, pod. Well, pod. Don't forget to subscribe. This is Darth Microtransactions channel, and we're gonna have some fun tonight. Well, pod, welcome back.
Let me welcome you to a story about Royal Guard, but it's also a story about Codeheart, and yes, even Septimus. If you didn't know, the value of enemy max HP damage has been lowered significantly. And I know you're saying, DM, isn't this supposed to be about Karam? Yeah, this is about Karam, okay? But it's important to notice something that's happening in the background right now. And that's that when we're using these massive max HP moves, you'll notice they're doing significant damage to the spider. And we 3-shot the spider there in 18 seconds. Why is this possible? Well, this is possible because of the enemy max HPs that everybody already knows about. I have 2 videos talking about Royal Guard, and there's many others on Royal Guard, Codeheart, and everything else that aren't just on my channel out there on YouTube already. So what's actually going on? If you've been looking recently, there's been videos, and a pretty decent amount of them from a lot of creators, talking about Royal Guard, Codeheart, Septimus, and I'm now making another one of these videos. And what effectively people have been saying is that the max HP is going to be bad. Why? Well, it's not losing its value in what we already have, but it's losing its future value, if that makes sense. It's being nerfed for future content. The dungeons 21 through 25 are now going to have the same stipulations that the Doom Tower has, okay? Which means bosses, are only going to be able to be hurt a maximum of 10% of the enemy's max HP. So if you're trying to nuke down something, for instance, like Spider on stage 25, your Royal Guard's only going to do 10% of his damage. That team that I just did of 2 Royal Guards and a Codeheart, that team will not work. However, we might be able to sort of cheese ourselves some fast runs after all. Because if we look at Karam, he has a move which might just bypass this. This move does not scale based upon enemy max damage, or I should say enemy max HP. Instead, all it does is remove poisons, but make them deal their damage instantly. And if you knew, poisons are actually only 5% per. Meaning if they add the 5% poisons together and deal that as one big sum of damage, we might actually be able to bypass this enemy max HP. Karam himself could probably end up being a very top tier epic once in the game, because 10% HP is nothing. And to be honest, the moves are long cooldowns. Like if you have Royal Guard with a minus the enemy max HP, he's not that exciting. Whereas poisons themselves are pretty much always good. This character also does poisons on top of it. He has a chance of inflicting critical hit and damage increases according to the amount of HP this champion has lost. And here's the other thing. We might actually start seeing unkillable comps for the Dungeon 25. We don't know how strong it's going to be. So if unkillable comps are something like Speed 2 and Unkillable for stage 25 in order to get the best artifacts, if that's something that does come to the game, this move itself right here would also be an additional high-powered type of move. He would have 1 health and do additional damage. So Karam is an epic. If you have him, don't crunch him, don't get rid of him, because he might end up being your saving grace when it comes to these new dungeons. And there's some other exciting information about him. He's strong because he's Force, meaning the Ice Golem, for instance, and the Spider's Den, both of those are magic affinity. So he will not hit weak on the Ice Golem or Spider's Den. Now, Dragon Lair itself is Force as well, so he's not going to hit weak on it. He's not going to hit strong, but he's not going to hit weak. So all 3 of those, 100% of the time, we can get that poison to pop. Now, the Fire Knight's going to be the rough one, because the Fire Knight itself requires the shield to be removed before, and on auto, that's not a good choice, typically. And plus, he's the wrong affinity anyway. It's Spirit for the Fire Knight. So unfortunately, he's not going to be your solution for that. But for 3 out of the other 4, Karam's value could be going through the roof very shortly. If you've never seen the poison popping experience before, it's pretty cool. What you do is you effectively apply as many poisons on as many people as you possibly can, or in the case of Karam, a single target. And then it's very simple. You remove the poisons and it applies all the damage done. That's all the damage the poisons would have done. You're going to see it right here. There you go. The damage was applied. It's pretty much that simple. Hopefully it's that simple too when it goes to the Dungeon 25. There is a additional passive of the Dungeon 25, which makes it where it's going to limit the amount of turn meter you can decrease. For this reason, it again makes sense that you would want to do some type of poison popping. It also makes sense when we actually think of from the point of Plarium, which is that very rarely in games like these ones does the company put out new, fresh content that is not seeking to have people focus on a part of their roster that isn't built out. For instance, poison popping is something you can do as a speedrunning technique, but nowhere in the game is poison popping required or the go-to strategy in order to clear a hard in-game piece of content. It's just not. It's a way you can do it, and it is a fast way. You could even argue it's the fastest way, but it's not required. However, in the majority of Raid Shadow Legends, other things are required. The enemy max HP, which is being nerfed now, was required essentially, unless you do the HP burn type of stuff like that. But for Spire 20, yeah, Code Heart, Royal Guard, that's pretty much where it's been at for a long time. On top of that, as the Doom Tower is out, they've realized, I believe, at where the resources have gone for people. Now that they can select and see the best team that is able to beat stuff, they can also get a really good introspective way of looking and saying, okay, these are the characters that are being used the most common to beat every floor. If they have 120 floors out there and they have a variety of different types of things to accomplish, but only 3 characters are really being used on every single one, they consider that a monetization problem. If you can build 3 characters and beat the majority of the game, that's not good for them. They need people to continue having to acquire and build new characters, especially if they want the wells to continue welling. Why would I ever build a new Dragon team for Dragon 25 if my same Dragon 20 team does the exact same thing for 25. It makes sense from a money point of view too. So I do believe they are more than likely looking to push people towards this poison popping way. Now I could be completely wrong and poison popping could be something that doesn't work at all. I haven't seen that. That's not what the wording showed in Discord, and it wasn't the way they said that damage will be limited from abilities that scale based upon enemy max HP. You could argue poison scale upon max HP, but it's just 5% flat all the time. You're going to get that 5%, and that's not over the 10% anyway. So I would like to see exactly how this happens. If that's not the case, this could be very hard. We could end up seeing some dungeon unkillable teams arise. I'm not 100% sure, but what I can tell you is if they are pushing you the poison popping way, Karam's just about the only guy that's going to do it without breaking the bank. Because teams like this are great, and it's fun to laugh at and look at, hey, look how overpowered it is for Dragon and all that. I mean, it's still a long team at minute 38 because you got to do the poisons and stuff. But no one has this team. I mean, realistically, people don't have this team. You guys watching this team, why would you have Bad El, Xavier, Rosin, and all that? You might have a Karam. And the other thing is you may have an Elenaro. That's a legacy character as well. Elenaro and Xavi have been around long enough that you might just have one of them floating around the bank. If you know this, poison popping is not something that is on too many characters. We're really limited to a small number of them. There's a Dark Elf, a High Elf, and Karam. If we take a look here, where is she? Elenaro, one of the characters I don't have, right? Deals damage from all poison debuffs on all enemies instantly. So that is effectively the same thing as Xavia's move, but it doesn't require hitting, which means no weak. So because of that, if there's no weak hit, she's effectively the best version of this as she will work on all of the dungeons. So keep that in mind. If you have Elenaro, her value went through the roof as well. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and say our boy Karam is probably going to be the king for the moment because it's on a 4-turn cooldown. It's an epic. and you might have him. Whereas Elinaro and Zavia, congratulations to maybe the 5 people who I helped out.